In 1966, the then Cameroon's president, Amadou Ahidjo, amalgamated all political parties to form Cameroon's National Union that was under the banner of monopolitics, in which Ahidjo, to foster this policy of one-party system in Cameroon, he introduced the draconian press law to accompany these measures, because he understood that people will want to revindicate and will want to fight against the launch of monoparty politics. The draconian press system was introduced in 1966 to what was described as the most dreaded media laws in the world. Under this context, there was pre-publication censorship. That is to say, people or press organs were supposed or are supposed to submit soft copies of their newspapers to divisional authorities, governors, and administrative authorities for them to have a review of the articles that are to be published in a newspaper. And after that is done, the divisional officers or administrative officers send back the corrected or edited story that they want to be published to the publisher, who would then move on and publish. In case that is violated, the printing machine alongside the house in which that was printed with the newspaper vendor will be arrested based on the pre-publication censorship. And this was in a bid to usher in the 1972 referendum that ushered in also a unity system. As Cameroon celebrates 50 years of national unity, as far as the federal system was abolished, what also has been able, as Cameroonians been able to attain, as we count 50 years down the line, what are the achievements? Are we more united 50 years after the referendum as it was? Are we more united as we was? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. Back from that transition. If you are just joining us, you're watching House of Commons, and this program comes to you every Sunday at exactly 12. We apologize for the late start of the program, and we kick straight away to have this kicker where Professor Elvis Ngolengole said multi-party politics is in Cameroon was removed because of the fact that it was not going well. He says multi-party politics was not working very well, and that the federation in itself was not working very well, as political parties could not get along. Reason why Ahidjo, who wanted a unity system, decided to adopt mono-party politics, where all political parties from West and East Cameroon will come under the banner to see how they can unite the country and fight against divide and put everybody on one table, one focus, one vision, the vision of building Cameroon, stating that federation was very expensive to manage. But we are 50 years on. Is that the case? And did he foresee what we are experiencing today? Here in the studio, we have no other person than the Song Derek, who is a member of the civil society and also joining us here to discuss on the 50 years after 1972 referendum in Cameroon. Are we now more united? Song Derek, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Tah Mai Jarvis. Happy Sunday to all the viewers of my media prime, especially House of Commons. It's always a pleasure to sit on this platform to discuss issue that touches the very core of our nation. And of course, we are here today to discuss 50 years. Are we more united or divided? We think that while you stay put, we're going to dissect the topic positively to bring a balanced balance sheet or an unbalanced balance sheet to show how united or how divided this comedy republic is.
You're welcome. If you are just watching us on Facebook, we want to say happy Sunday to all those of you watching us on Facebook. We want to welcome also Nick Anu, who is also here with us, a member of the civil society. Nick Anu, happy Sunday and thanks for joining us.
Happy Sunday, Tah Mai Jarvis, and thanks for having me here once again. And I say a happy Sunday to the people of the BLM watching me at this moment, and happy Sunday to all Cameroonians. And we look forward to having a fruitful discussion about 50 years of national unity in Cameroon. We look forward to having the advantages and the disadvantages of what 50 years has brought to us. And thank you once more for having me, and happy Sunday to my fellow panelists.
Thank you very much, Nick. And we also await the arrival of Fire Elvis Tayon, who has just indicated to us that he is around the corner, and we will have two interventions from Professor Elvis Ngolengole, pursuit of a program which we organized within the week to look at the 20th May celebration and National Day. I'll begin the program by playing the excerpt of Professor Elvis Ngolengole interviewed by Mr. Kum Leonard on Prime Hour on to the reason of the 1972 referendum taking pursuit to 1966, which ushered in 1972.
Prof, and welcome to Prime Hour for the first time.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure sharing this platform with the other distinguished panelists. I look forward to a very rich exchange.
Yes, Prof, I want us to understand when in 1966 parties actually dissolved to form the CNU. Was that a pointer that things were no longer going to be the same towards what we now have as Cameroon today?
Well, you know, 1966 was an important moment in the evolution of the country, because as we all know from history and from historians, when in 1961 the federal constitution came into being and created the federal state of two federated states, one West Cameroon and one East Cameroon, it was very obvious that the multi-partism in the West Cameroon federated state was not working very well. It was very obvious that the multi-partism was not working very well, and that the federation itself was not working very well. We all know that economically there were problems, politically there were problems, because, for example, the majority party then, the KNDP, and the other political parties didn't get along very well, and so because it had always been the political program of the federal president, President Into, to have a unit state, he made his first move in 1966 by convincing the other political parties, both in the West Cameroon Federated State and the East Cameroon Federated State, to come together in the form of a unified political party that was called CNU. And that's what we had in 1966. But I think that maneuver was a pointer, as you just said, was a pointer to what was going to come, because as he succeeded in having a unified, one single political party in 1966, it was only obvious that the next step would be for him to get his the unitary state, as was his goal, his vision from the beginning. So for us, or for me, that wasn't a surprise at all, and I don't think it was wrong either, because he already from the word go in Pumban made it known that preference his option and his goal was to get Cameroon to become a unitary state. Now, when the federal system came in being from 1st of October 1961, that was between him and then Vice President John Bufonja. But he didn't stop there. He knew that at some point he would get to his ultimate goal, which was to have a unitary state rather than a federal state. And of course, in 1972, we all know what took place. There was the referendum, and that referendum was a constitutional referendum. It was legitimate, it was legal, it was constitutional, and he got to his goal, the unitary state.
Thank you very much, Professor Evans Golengole, except there that he was interviewed by Kum Leonard. And I begin the program with you, Song Derek, while waiting for Elvis Tayong. I want us to get it clear. You will listen to Professor Evans Golengole. But before your reaction to Professor Evans Golengole, I want to ask you this question. Is Cameroon now more united than it was after 1972?
The answer is no. Cameroon is more divided than it was in 1972, and there are no hopes of a better unity. We cannot be celebrating unity when the people we have in place that have to unite the country have instead divided the country more. We cannot be celebrating unity in disunity. We cannot be celebrating unity when some persons have held the country hostage. We cannot be talking about unity when one part of the country has become a prison, have become prisoners. We cannot talk of unity when some people have hijacked this country and increased the poverty gap between the rich and the poor. 50 years down the drain, Jarvis, what are we celebrating? Are we celebrating 50 years of gross disrespect of human rights? Are we celebrating 50 years of locking up of opinion leaders? Are we celebrating 50 years of embezzlement? 50 years of demoralization of Cameroonians? Are we celebrating 50 years of hopelessness of the Cameroon citizen? What 50 years are we really celebrating? Are we celebrating 50 years of 40 years of hostage? Are we celebrating 50 years of a hopeless nation and a nation without a vision? Are we celebrating 50 years of a people that have hijacked the country and crippled it down its knees? Jarvis, I want to tell you without mincing words that the word celebration that Cameroonians put in place to say we are celebrating 50 years should be removed. We are not celebrating, we are mourning. We are mourning and asking ourselves, what is the balance sheet we have after 50 years? What do we have to present that 50 years of this forceful marriage? What has become of it? Aside rape, marginalization, theft, anger, hatred, pain, penury of the Cameroonians. A country that we thought was blessed, a country called Africa in miniature, a country blessed with natural resources, a country that God has bestowed all resources. Today, we are talking of 50 years of disunity. 50 years of the separation of the riches of this country. 50 years of the assimilation of one part of the country. 50 years of centralizing power. 50 years of one man eating the food. Jarvis, what 50 years are we celebrating? I think we should not talk about the celebration of anything called 50 years because it is a very, very bad balance sheet. Nobody should be proud of a balance sheet that has more of liabilities and nothing called assets.
You cannot for sure say that we have more of liability than asset, because when you listen to Professor Ngolengole, he tells it all that it was unanimous decision that Cameroonians came into being. And you talk about 50 years of demoralization, but President Pobia has come up with rigor and moralization, and also we are seeing how rigor and moralization is playing, and also to 50 years of hostage taking. But we've had consistent elections
Jarvis,
since President Biya took over.
When you talk of rigor and moralization, is what is happening in our school today, in the secondary school, where students are stabbing teachers to death, students are stabbing students, pregnancy cases. Is it moralization or demoralization? If we are talking about 50 years of control, that a minister in this country, the wife who want to set money ablaze.
So those are just allegations now.
They are not allegations. The evidence are there. The evidence are there. That a minister's wife will want to put a house on fire to hide evidence of money stolen from the country. 50 years of embezzlement. 50 years of separating Bamenda from the rest of the world, or for the rest of the country. 50 years of no road. How many years has the Babaju road been promised? But today, Bamenda is virtually separated. The southwest, where are the roads?
This administration grinds slowly but surely. 5F is Tayong. Welcome to the program. Happy Sunday to you. You've just traveled all the way from the town of legendary hospitality. We understand that between Friday and Saturday, it was not easy within the town. Can you paint us a picture why we celebrate 50 years of national unity? What happened within the area of Boya and its environment?
Well, you know, the analysis on the 50th anniversary, Golden Jubilee of National Day, as they call it, you know, it can be analyzed in relative terms, depending on where some people are standing. You would bear with me that for the man who eats fat in the system, he will tell you that everything went very well. Yes, because that is what some of those songbirds sing around the southwest region. But then, if we look at it comparative-wise, is that how it was always celebrated? It becomes another call for concern. Now, if you look at it critically, the celebration in the first place, I most appreciate the governor of the Southwest Region, Governor Okala Bilabena, because at least they did all they could, braving the odds, stepping up security around the area for the day to move. I think I'll be appreciating the SDO for Manu Division rather. We equally did all, and it took place there. Likewise, Tocha Balang, the SDO for Meme Division. Likewise, the SDO for Fako Division, because it also took place in Limbe. But then, when we talk about celebration, is it just a matter of people came out and they marched and they started blowing grammar in the air that all went on? Well, no. How was it celebrated some years back compared to now? I would tell you, Meme Fako Division started late in the celebration because of the tension that was in Fako Division, especially down Limbe. Shortly after the kidnapping of the CDC workers there, now and then they were released by the elements of the Rapid Intervention Battalion, the B, you know, it created an atmosphere. So at the early stage where the march was supposed to begin, from the 9 a.m., it was not beginning. 11 o'clock, it was still limping. But people finally came because people had to brave the odds. Now in Boya, we understand that the unprecedented ghost town characterized the entire southwest region and northwest. And so the few who could brave the odds and came to march. But now, is this the kind of 50 years or national day we are supposed to celebrate when some people are scared, some are indoors? Businesses were closed in Boya. I am waiting for that man who will tell me that no, Boya was buoyant as usual. Taxis braved the odds, they could carry students up and down and all the like, but the atmosphere in Boya, you know, it is tense. They don't need to remind you. And so the people who had their 1,000 first to march and all the like, of course, could brave the odds and pick up for the other youth groups that were equally having their own share. But it was not an easy thing to say that there is a take-home message for the celebration. That is why I have been always telling the people in Yaoundé that days like these are not what's celebrated. Days like this are supposed to be days of national reflection. That is it. So when we hear they celebrated, CPDM came out, UPC came out, this one came out, and all the like, and the songbird media, because most of this thing is controlled by the media. I keep telling them, because you get peanuts, you do wrong reporting without objectives. That's how the journalists they function these days.
Some of the journalists, because you say you're a journalist.
I said, when I say they, normally I mean many of them. When I say they, you understand? All of them can be bad, but when I say they, it means majority of them.
It is a definite and specific.
Now, I will tell you this. When in the reporting, you realize that if you followed most of the who did the commentaries, it is true, we have to be patriotic. We are not refusing. But a media person should paint the true picture. Because when you carry on with reporting, field reporting, to give a semblance of it and its true picture, you must do what they call comparative field reporting. That is why sometimes some people went memory lane. In the days where you used to take canvas, you used chalk because there was no blanco. You put chalk in water and then you put it on what they call canvas. I mean, those are the euphorias we used to have in the days of National Day celebration. But now the question is, in the course of all the assimilation and the wrongful placements of the notion of National Day, we begin to ask ourselves, because I always say I hold the media, because media stands a chance of giving us the real situation on the ground. And even those who reported on the stories that are listed in several media organs, if they reported the situation as per se, it gives the government, you guide the government. You have the government to not know, but if compared to what in your report, maybe the previous years it was not like this, and then this year we are saying that people came out do timidly. Why did they come out timidly? The government begins to investigate, even though the government knows. So you could realize that even part of the quagmire we find ourselves, some media personalities and media organs are masterminding where we are today. And that's the reason why I got so sad. Even in the reports, I've listened to the media organs report. In the South and the Northwest, none of them have said in some areas it was bad. Even Limela started late. I'm talking like this. Those journalists who are in Limela know what I'm talking about. So at the end of it, we must be able to be honest because we need to build a nation on truth. So wasn't worth celebrating. People will grow grammar up down. No, you know, they voluntarily came together. Those things are grammar. They came together, yes. What was the basis of their coming together? Of equal status. Is equal status respected? No. What grammar are we talking about? When I see academicians come on from several times on different platforms, day in, day out, and they begin to mortgage the future of the English-speaking Cameroonians, I say people have philera and malaria combined. Because these are things that we must be able to harness. The coming together was on particular objectives, even though it was thwarted. Okay. But the main thing is that there was that semblance of unity. Even when we talk about English and French, of equal status, you don't find that. With the kangaroo system we call bilingualism, they are only watching. And the things are going off hand every day.
No, but the head of state says bilingualism commission is very active and he renewed the mandate of the bilingualism commission.
No, on the contrary, Mr. Jarvis.
In English.
On the contrary, anybody who believes on bilingualism commission, the man needs to go back and look at what are their modus operandi. You don't just believe on things as if you are coming from the sun, and then you arrive on planet and they tell you believe on this. What is their function is only to recommend. If they write and send to the presidency, the president has the prerogative to decide or not to decide.
So they are more of an advisory body.
It is an advisory body and a toothless bulldog.
Okay, thank
organization.
You. Thank you very much. All those of you who are sending us your messages, we want to say happy Sunday to you. Happy Sunday to all those who are watching us online. Those who are giving us their own contribution, we want to say happy Sunday to you. If you have just been a member watching us, you want to participate on our program House of Commons, you can contact us on the number on your screen. We will involve you in the WhatsApp group so that when we drop a topic of interest to you, you can participate. Good afternoon to Bull Elvis, who is watching. He said kudos for Elvis. Bull Elvis is one of our presenter here with us. Bull Elvis, happy Sunday to you. We also have Kudi, happy Sunday to you. Ebua Rene, happy Sunday to you. Also happy Sunday to Fon Tero Jimmy, happy Sunday to you. Malva Mbanda, happy Sunday to Mark Emos Andy, happy Sunday to you. Ngamdi, happy Sunday to you, Makia Valentine. I'll come with you. You've witnessed this celebration, this year's celebration. But my focus now is Cameroon now more united 50 years after than before?
Cameroon is more divided than 50 years before. The evidences are there to show. One part of the country is at war. The evidence to show that 50 years after, the foundation is an indication that the foundation was 40. 50 years after, we shouldn't be talking of celebration. I think the past 50 years or the past 60 or 61 years of so-called Cameroon independence has been so much paraded in falsehood. Cameroon, we shouldn't be talking about unity because so far so good they have been talking about, they have been trying to portray Cameroon as portray uniformity. Unity is not uniformity. Cameroon is a bilingual, bicultural, bijural country, and you cannot be talking of unity in that kind of or you can talk of unity in that kind of country, but you cannot be talking of uniformity. Because Cameroon is trying to preach aspect of unity, but they are practicing by uniformity. Uniformity means that you want people to think by the same, you want people to act by the same. Meanwhile, the country culturally is not the same. You can talk of unity, but we have not been practicing unity for the past 50 years. If we had been practicing unity, we would not be seeing what we're seeing today. We will not be at war today. We get the best from each side of the country and then bring it together and see how to forge the country ahead. But over the years, over the past 50 years, we have been seeing that the agenda of Ahiju trying to bring in the unity system was to swallow the Anglo-Saxon system. And we don't need to go elsewhere to debate about this because the President Biya himself confirmed this in France. He confirmed this.
With Mo Ibrahim.
Yes, he confirmed this that he has been trying. They have been trying over the years to assimilate. Yes. So, if over the years, instead of talking about unity, they have been struggling to assimilate one part of the country into the French system, which to me, a normal human being would see that that kind of thing can never work. The English tried that in Canada for some years. It did not work. So they had to bring in the modern Canadian system that is working today. Even Cameroon, we cannot be learning from others. What else are we trying to do? Trying to assimilate over the years the Anglo-Saxon system. The indication now is that there's war. And even at war, those who are doing that are still not repentant.
But when you say war, many will argue like the government sees it's a conflict, it's a terrorist attack. It's no war by the government's definition. And other ministers will say that we have just a handful of resistance, and that in the nearest future we'll not have it again. There is no war, but you are quantifying it war. Under what parameter are you measuring it war?
If it was a conflict, if it was just a normal conflict, what we'll be seeing there is the police and the gendarmes. But we're seeing the full force of the military present on ground. All of us visit those regions day in, day out. You see the full force of the military present in every subdivision, in almost every town of that in the two Anglo-Saxon region. And you don't need to go to Harvard to know what a war is or to know the definition of a war. When there's war, there's destruction, there's killing, there's looting, there's kidnapping, and all of this, we are seeing it on ground. And all of these are characteristics of war. There is rape, there is internal displacement, external displacement of the population. All of these are characteristics of war, except we want to bring it, fabricate our own definition of war in Cameroon, which the regime is trying to push forward, that it is just an internal conflict. I think the present regime have to be honest to themselves. They have to be honest to themselves that ruling a people is not, you don't rule a people as you wish. You don't rule a people foundation of tomorrow or in the next 10,
when you
20...
when you say past 50 wasted years, I think, is that not an overstatement in a country where they will tell you that within the last 50 years, there have been some achievement in terms of rebuilding the armed forces, in terms of the higher education family, giving out many universities across state universities across the nation, and also building up of secondary schools across the nation, giving up of free education across the nation, and they will also tell you about the constructions of dams like the Labdo, the Lompanga, the Mevele, and also they will also tell you that they've been the special status. So within these 50 years, special status also accorded to the people of Northwest and Southwest region, that there've been an establishment of the Northwest and Southwest House of Chiefs. And when you say 50 years of wastage, is that not an overstatement?
No. Mr. Tama, when you want to measure the development of a country, you look at the common man, or you look at what you call the Human Development Index of Cameroon. When you cite all this achievement, what do we see on ground? What we see on ground match with what you are really citing? Or all of these things you are citing are just like the government is like using this thing to play to the gallery, to give the impression that for the past 50 years, this is what they have been doing. Development is just proportionate to the population growth of every nation. You could not expect Cameroon to remain at one state university as it was in 72 or whatever. You could not expect Cameroon to remain at that level when the population was growing, or not to build dams when the population was growing and needed energy. Development is just supposed to be proportionate to population growth. So it is no new thing that all of these things have been done. Even though what you have cited, the dams constructed, we still don't have stable electricity. The schools you are citing, we still don't have good education in this country. And so to me, in a country like Cameroon, we shouldn't be practicing uniformity, because what the government is trying to put in place is uniformity. Uniformity in the sense that you are trying to make everybody to toe a common line, rather than trying to practice what a true unity is all about. If Cameroon was practicing true unity, okay, they'll be valorizing what is good in the Anglo-Saxon system, what is good in the Francophone system. They'll bring it together and see how to forge the nation forward. And Cameroon is the only country that is so much divided 50 years after. Okay. A country having two educational systems, a country having two national anthems. And
when you say two national anthems,
the English version of the national anthem is not the same like the French version. If you like, go and check. They are not the same thing. The message is not the same. The sound, the singing and the sound must look the same, but the message, the weddings are not the same.
Of glory and independent men forever.
Yeah, that's just a chorus. We're talking of the message of that national anthem. It is not the same. A country that is culturally divided, educationally divided, socially wise, it is divided. Okay. You cannot be talking of national unity in that kind of country.
We'll be coming back to you. Cameroon is more divided than ever. Two states came together as one, but today Southern Cameroon has been assimilated into French Cameroon. If the two states can't go 50-50 in everything, then we are heading to this is coming from Banjong, the town of Fosso Victor. Also, until we go back to 1961 and put the union covenant to the table, and national unity will still be a fiasco. This is Edwin once again. This other one read, it says, "Good afternoon, Mr. Tah Mai Jarvis. We celebrated the 50th anniversary of highly indebtedness. Please, when you send us a message, tell us who you are and where you are texting us from, so that we can properly acknowledge you." This one comes from Chrisango from Ombesa Esemda. It says, "Happy Sunday to you people. Hope you are doing great. Hope you are doing a great job. You all are doing a great job. Cameroon is divided than united. After 50 years, there is no road going to Bamenda, and you talk about united." Thank you very much. Your message is gotten. This other one read, it says, "Happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. Cameroon is more divided than in 1966. Divine writing from Lagos." Okay, good afternoon to you guys in the studio. This is coming from Pascal Tanjo. What have all the purported achievements changed in the life of the common man? This is coming from Pascal Okay, thank you very much, Song Derek. When we look at this 50th anniversary, there've been a lot of achievement from what many stakeholders will say from within the government arm, that we've had the construction of dams, the Minvele, the Longpanga, the Labdo, the Nanga Eboko, and that we've also had the creation of many state universities in Cameroon, which have been spread across the nation, and that we've also had the creation of some divisional authority. We had the change of province to region, and also we've had from the medical corps, we've had the expansion of medical facilities across the nation, and that some villages have been able to have some of these medical facilities. Administration is slow but surely within the 50 years. Do you agree with those assertions?
Jarvis, there is nothing you ever say to me, especially coming from the regime apologetic supporters, that really makes sense, because they are a bunch of praise singers. I want to tell you that whatever we are saying, when you want to measure the development of a country, there's a development index. Comparatively, what was the GDP of Cameroon 40 years ago, and what is the GDP of Cameroon today? You will realize that instead of progressing, Cameroon is regressing. And this regression is because of the calculated attempts of the leaders to divide us rather than unite us. The division that is existing in Cameroon is not an error. It is a planned act, a calculated planned act, with the President of the Republic being one of the architects of this planned act. Because you can't tell me that 50 years after, the Southern Cameroonians cannot celebrate their Cameroon Bank. Where did it go to? You can't tell me that 50 years after, the police school in Mutengene has been assimilated and Frenchified. You can't tell me that 50 years after, the West Cameroon Police Force and Police Mobile Wing is nowhere to be found. 50 years after, PWD is nowhere in Southern Cameroon. PWD Kumba, PWD Bamenda. 50 years after, the marketing board of Southern Cameroon has disappeared into thin air. All this is a calculated attempt by the majority to assimilate and swallow up the majority. 50 years where the division has been amplified. I told you earlier that the accomplices of the division we have in this country stay in Yaoundé. And that is why even with the war ongoing in Southern Cameroon, the real separatists are sitting in offices in Yaoundé. A minister once called people in the southwest as come no go, but today he has been compensated too, and now perhaps functioning as a leader in a non-existing commission called Bilingualism Commission. A governor calls people dogs, and no punishment is given to the person. 50 years after, the only people who are competent to rule this country or govern this country must come from a particular region. Jarvis, what unity should we be celebrating?
When you say govern this country must come from a particular region, what do you mean? Because they will tell you that the prime minister, head of government, is an Anglophone. They will tell you that the minister of territorial administration is an Anglophone. They will also tell you that minister of secondary education is an Anglophone. And also the person who led the 20 May parade, it's from Menchum division, an Anglophone. And these are things that will tell you that we've had other Anglophones in positions. So,
like personally, Jarvis, I will never downplay on the personality of the Prime Minister of this country, His Excellency Chief Dr. John Gute. Is a man I respect so much because he's very sound upstairs, somebody I know personally, we've interacted, we've talked to each other. But at the same time, his position is a window decoration. He's a window dressing. He has no power. Jarvis, the Prime Minister is the head of government. But he is installed almost at the same time with all ministers, whereas he is the one who is supposed to propose the ministers. They appoint all the ministers at the same time with him. What power does he have? He has no power. So when we talk about power, and then when you are calling ministers of Anglophones and you call a minister like, should I say minister? Call somebody like Mr. Paul Atanganji. Mr. Paul Atanganji is a disservice.
No, you cannot say that. You cannot say
He's
that.
He's doing disservicing.
No,
he is one of the persons.
No,
Let me tell you, Jarvis,
you
Jarvis,
cannot
please.
say that for Minister Paul Atanganji.
Jarvis,
I know you take responsibility, but
of my
this
words.
is, yes, I know, but this
Jarvis,
is the
let me say it. That is somebody who categorically stated that there was no Anglophone problem. He assumed those words, they are on accept. But that is somebody that when the West sends their aids, he is the one who is leading to share to those who have no problem. So what are you telling me? That somebody who tells you that there's no problem. A lot of Anglophones, especially those who work with the government, have divided this country. Do you know, Jarvis, that this country's division from 1966, 1972 was calculated and masterminded until the constitutional rape that took place, that who was supposed to take over the then president, Ayijo. It was to be then Mr. S.T. Muna. That the constitution was raped and a wrong person put in place. Whoever raised a question about that?
I know we will be getting out to the kangaroo man, but before getting to Fire Elvis Tayon, let me take on some few messages. I am Valentine from Batibo. Cameroon is more militant now than unity. So Cameroon is not one but two. This other one read, it says, good afternoon, happy Sunday to you all. Peter from Tico, we should correct yes manipulation in Fumban before looking at unity. And this other one read, it says, happy Sunday to you, my Elvis. I agree with you. Keep up on. I love your program. This is Mr. Bernard from Chang. Thank you very much, Mr. Bernard from Chang. This one read, it says, good afternoon and happy Sunday to you guys. Nice program. I think Cameroon is more united than divided in debt. Thank you very much. 50 years of disunity, 50 years of suppression, 50 years of forceful assimilation. How can we talk about unity when the English-speaking region? Thank you very much. This is coming from Ba in Limbe. Before getting to you, Fire Elvis Tayon, I want you to react to what Minister Professor Evan Golengole told one of our presenters, that is Kum Leonard, in a sister's program. Let's get to his excerpt based on this national unity as far as the 1972 referendum is concerned. We're hoping that we'll get on Professor Elvis Ngolengole in second intervention as far as this topic is concerned, so that Fire Elvis, you can react to it.
Now, Professor, you say that the goal at Fumban, according to the then President Amadou Ahidjo, was to get Cameroon towards a unitary form as a state. Now, are we saying here that politicians from West Cameroon at the time did not see the tendencies that were exhibited by Ahidjo at the time? Were they manipulated? Were they naive? And how did they see the interest of West Cameroonians in the definite plan of President Amadou Ahidjo?
Well, I think I wouldn't want to say that politicians then were naive or that they didn't understand. I think that at that time, politics being what it is, their understanding of the constitutional arrangement by which a federal system was set up, perhaps they didn't have a mastery of the contours of that setup. And with time, President Ahidjo was, as a very astute politician and, of course, federal president, was able to succeed to get his goal of the unitary state by convincing even the politicians of the federated state of West Cameroon across the political spectrum, across the partisan spectrum, because the referendum that took place in 1972 there was a campaign 2 weeks before the referendum, and everybody went to their hometown. That campaign took place, and the referendum took place, and the votes were counted in each of the federated states, and the results are all known. In each of the 2 federated states, the results were 99.something% in each of them. And so there may be some who may not have agreed with that or who may not have been happy with the outcome, but the fact is, it was constitutional, it was legitimate, and politically it was correct, and the federal president got his goal, which has always been there since 1961.
The constitutionality of what took place in 1972 actually it has been very controversial, and but you said it was very constitutional. Yeah, can you explain so that our audience understand?
Yes, you know, the 1961 Federal Constitution had in its Article 47, and I'm sure those who have a copy will read it. The article referred to the fact that no maneuver or no action that could impede or tamper with the unity and the integrity of the federation would be accepted or would be admissible. And I think many have interpreted that to mean that that article meant that the federation was not supposed to be changed. But I don't think that is really what that article meant. The article refers to the unity and the integrity of the federation as a political system, not as a federation as a model of political organization. And besides that, there's the Article 2 of the same Federal Constitution of 1961, which clearly indicated that the people of Cameroon had sovereignty. Sovereignty belonged to them, and that with that sovereignty, they could carry out a sovereign decision, which, of course, one of which is a referendum, to make sure that they carry out any constitutional maneuver or any political maneuver in all sovereignty. And I think Article 2 gave the leeway constitutionally for that referendum to take place, and that referendum, therefore, from a constitutional standpoint, given his Article 2 and Article 47, I think it was quite correct. And besides that point, for those who argue over that, we shouldn't forget that that maneuver, that referendum was observed, was followed by the international community, including and in particular the United Nations and the other trusteeship powers, meaning France and Great Britain. And neither the United Nations, nor France, nor Great Britain have ever complained. They have accompanied Cameroon. They have supported Cameroon. And they continue to accompany Cameroon in its evolution. Those who make the argument, it's as if there are those who think that Cameroon, that the 11th of February was to to put in place a federal state. No, the 11th February plebiscite was not meant for Cameroon to become a federal state. It was simply a United Nations organized plebiscite to enable British Cameroons, meaning British Northern and Southern Cameroon, to decide whether they will be independent by joining the Republic of Cameroon or by joining the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And of course, we know the result. British Southern Cameroons opted in that plebiscite of 11 February 61 to join their brothers and sisters of the Republic of Cameroon, while British Northern Cameroons opted to join the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And what happened afterward was simply internal domestic politics between the President of the Republic of Cameroon and the political actors in the then British Southern Cameroon. And they were able to strike a deal in Kumban in the summer of 1961, by which they came up with a federal setup, of two federated states. But again, even though they came up with that federal setup, everyone knows by now, and I'm sure the historians would not disagree with me, that President Ahijibo, who was the federal president, always had as his goal to have Cameroon get to a unitary state, because believed in a unitary state to be much stronger, much more united, much more united, yes, than a federal state. And he got it by prime, 1966 fusion of political.
Thank you very much. Fai Evistayong, you've listened to Professor Evans Golengole. We are looking at, is Cameroon more united today, 50 years after than before? Your reaction to the question first, before to Professor Evans Golengole.
My reaction to the question, if I sit on this platform and I tell you that it is more united than ever, know that I have smoked Indian hemp. Just know that something is wrong with me. Because the footprints are on the ground. That is why we say in political science, when you engage a wrong formula, know that the result of that calculation or the move will automatically be wrong. If we are suffering today, it's because things were concocted with hidden agendas from the inception of the issue of the federal Cameroon, or the East and West Cameroon coming together, and all the grammar that people are blowing up and down. That is the more reason why I say that if we look at it, the division has multiplied because of the policy of divide and rule manned in Yaoundé with an agenda to reduce the concentration of people who could rise against the kangaroo system that is fast putting people in their graves as per se. You will not tell me that we should be united more when we are hungry. Price hikes are increasing until a minister of commerce will tell you that you should regulate your eating habit. And no one has called him to order. You see witchcraft in broad daylight.
Yeah, when he was inaugurating the the business center in Yaoundé.
Yes.
The trade fair village.
And that's why I said that some of these ministers need to go on leave. You cannot tell Cameroonians to regulate their habit when you have a department called price control. What is the essence of price control in the Ministry of Commerce? To go down and make sure that prices are homologated. Now, another phenomenon has come in that keeps us more divided, because the poverty level between the rich and the poor is like day and night. That while some people are clamoring to buy cement in the southwest for 6,500 francs and in areas in Bamenda for 7,000 francs, some people blow grammar and say it is the war in Ukraine. Cement that is produced in Cameroon and some hoodlums call Ukraine, as if we're talking about flour here. You can imagine how even the issue of cooking gas produced in Cameroon skyrocketing. And I begin to ask myself, do we have, anyway, the government is already kangaroo, so I understand. Probably from the nature of it. But then the division continues. Let me tell you something, Mr. Jarvis. To tell you that this Yaoundé is not serious. How do you explain to me that teachers and lawyers stage a strike action requesting for their rights, especially teachers of the common law expression. Water cannons, tear gas, 1V, 2V policemen are trashing them like Sunday school children. But teachers of the French speaking expression, OTS as they call them, they stage their own strike action and there is negotiation. Listen, we are not fools, eh? Yaoundé, we are not fools. And you see that the manner in which they are handling theirs is in a careful manner. They had over a month strike action. None of them were beaten. None of them have been punished as per se.
But the government Tanganjipo has threatened that.
Forget about the grammar. He threatened them. And the next minute, Minister of Labour is negotiating with them and begging them to find the code of the strike because of the technical move put in place by the Minister of Labour in Cameroon. I attended that meeting. I was in Yaoundé. Probably as a pressman, I had to be at the corridors of the meeting. But I'm telling you that it occurred. So while Minister Tanganji is warning them, the minister is negotiating with them, and at the end of it, a communique comes in.
That's still division. That is
still division. So at the end of it, I tell you that when we are talking about issues here, if you look at it critically, even within the ranks and files of whatever workload we have, you see that the things are turning apart. You will tell me, for example, let me tell you this. Do you know that the manner in which the security forces react in Northwest South is different from Littoral, Yaoundé, any other area? I can shout at the security force in Douala, Yaoundé, Bafoussam. But in those areas, I stay mute. Because they have another urge of, that is, the law protects them that they can do and undo. So why this difference in treatment? Division. Now, you come down to hear about the issue of some people are terrorists because to them, as we castigate the kangaroo mechanisms in Yaoundé, they say we are anti-Republican, therefore we are terrorists.
But you are not
terrorists. I'm still coming. Then another, you go to the media organ, another French speaking, castigate the government, he's not called a terrorist. You see how your kangaroo system functions? They all need to go and live. And these are the things we are talking here because these are practicals. Any human being who talks about unity, who talks about 50 years after the 1972 referendum, and talking about whether we are more united than ever, it means the person has an error. Because look at it. I would tell you that even at the level of the councils, when workers want to go on strike, take for example CDC, look at the way they are treated. Now, go to Njombe Painter Banana Plantation. I was there yesterday. And they'll tell that each time they announce a strike action to demand for increased salary, the matter is taken with immediate effect. Just is not promise, just is effect. We have English-speaking persons working in the Njombe Painter Plantation. They know what I'm talking about. But if you go to another plantation in the English-speaking, they can calm you down. If you want to overtalk, they say you are anti-patriotic. Therefore, the law on terrorism is meant to crawl down persons who want to express what they're supposed to express. Division. How do you explain to me that in the northwest and the southwest, by the time you are taking issues, you are taking hold of the government, your own case is you are transferred to military court. But in the first speaking part, if you take against the government that gets to a particular position, you are called by the state council. That is, you are called by the state council on a civil claim matter. And probably you are brought to book or you are punished. But the system is that one is military action for another group and civil aspect or common for another.
I want you to briefly react on Professor Elvis Ngolengole. He talked about the 1972 referendum, constitutional, legal, and was okay.
Well, what I could tell Professor Elvis Ngolengole while reacting is that as a learned professor, he should be able to understand the parameters that surrounded the referendum. Were the cards put in place on the table clearly? Because there are two things that surrounds the referendum. One, either the politicians were not given the exact agenda and the outcome of the referendum that will bring them to be united, or two, they were informed and bribed not to tell the people of West Cameroon the realities. That's why many of them went in thinking that the unity aspect was a better and a best option, so to say. So these two things are lingering. But all is that it is one of the two. And a diabolic plan was around the corner. Why do we say the plan was around the corner? Because these things are important for those who do analysis on the history of Cameroon. Because if you look at it critically, if people voted overwhelmingly for the referendum, that is talking about the unity and all the like, people should be asking the question, are moving towards the federation, that what were the fruits of this particular union? If the fruits of a union is negative and assimilation takes center stage and nothing is done till present day, it means that it was a careful attempt. I would tell you from this particular issue that most of us suffer the consequences.
Okay.
If we become French inclined, or to be speaking French rather, not French inclined, if I started speaking French, even if it is caught and Nederland French and they call it pidgin, it is because they forced me. Because when I came to Douala, I realized that I could not survive with the English language because it was first already a matter of stigmatization. That you are in office and somebody is negligent, I say, qu'est-ce que tu dis? En temps pas ce que tu dis. So you are forced now to learn it so that when you go to areas where you need services, you communicate. So in the nutshell, Professor Elvis Ngole, what he has said is the shallow aspect of the narratives. Because in political analysis, you analyze beyond the lines.
Okay.
If you want to analyze on the literary part of it as you see it, you will give a wrong connotation. That is why, as I said, in political science, which he is a professor, the end result of whatever issue you produce as far as the science of politics is concerned reflects the foundation of how it was built. So, if I'm a Professor Elvis, for the fact that this grammar I am blowing is giving us something negative, it means that the foundation was wrong. And therefore, we must get back to the drawing board and analyze to find out if those who actually championed the aspect of referendum, they worked in bad faith, or is that they were duped and not given the realities, and they could only see it when issues were operating in a lackadaisical manner, as we are confused now in their own day.
Okay, happy Sunday to you all in the studio. I am Nyinda Mandela, watching from Boya since the 1960s, where the two Cameroons came together as two separate states. They have never been united than separated. Unity in Cameroon is mere fabricated word to cover the division that exists in the states. This other one read, it says, good greetings, Jarvis and all panelists. It is sad to see the government in attempting to create unity through threat and killings. That is clear message that government has no better idea. Jarvis, there is no unity without justice. Now or later, the government will have to answer to its actions because children and grandchildren will not forget what they did. This is coming from Franklin from Thailand. This other one reads, Rita Reed writes that Cameroon has never been united and will never be. The unity the Yaoundé regime portrayed to the world is mouth and paper unity. Cameroon, both Anglophones and Francophone leaders are very wicked. The day those leaders God will not even want to see them in their faces. You remember, I have to censor that because you cannot just look at the Cameroon constitution. It was written in bad faith, a constitution that is so crafty to the extent that it makes provision for CPDM to always be in control when the opposition take over a council. Governorship and many others. The people of Cameroon has no sovereignty. Forget the what Professor Ngolengole explained. Anyways, same day, Cameroon will be someday. Cameroon will be delivered. Thank you very much. This is coming from Co says unity synonymous to closing the marketing board. Unity is synonymous to closing the marketing board. Your power station buildings on founded dams where there are no water sources, neglecting the Limbe seaport, mentioned for etc. Thank you very much. Your message is gotten. This other read, it says, good day, good day, my names are Do from Douala, Bonaberi. We must be very careful for these politicians. Thank you very much. This one right, he says, the referendum was fake. Only members of the one party took part in the campaign. There was no opposition party to campaign against it. So the unity we talk about was false, and the false unity, that's why it is not working. It's coming from Edwin, Mr. Jarvis. This one reads, it says, Good morning, Destiny from Limbe. Only one solution for this country. All the old grandparents should leave the seat. Then we are good to go. Thank you very much, Destiny from Limbe. All those of you who are sending us your messages, we want to say we'll read them. In case you want to be a member of our program, you want to participate in our program House of Commons, you can message me on the numbers that are on your screen. Write me a message. I will include you into the WhatsApp group with your name, and we will invite you whenever you want to take part in a topic. We'll announce the topic in our WhatsApp group, and if in case it is of your interest, you participate. I'll come to you, Nick Anu, before moving to Song Derek. We have close to 20 minutes to this program. Nick Anu, if we look at the nation as it is now, with many Cameroonians of the opinion that there is need to revisit the unity that we have, that there is need to revisit the unity that Cameroon is having. What will you say to authorities that be? Because many are still of the opinion, like we saw in Yaoundé when President Pobia was presiding over the celebration, that a lot of banners were put up celebrating unity and says Cameroon is united in diversity.
That is just played to the gallery, Mr. Tama. National unity is not the grammar they are blowing or putting up banners like the one we saw in Yaoundé that a whole bunch of ministers went to inaugurate. That's just playing to the gallery. That's not national unity. National unity is built on truth. Truth and only truth. Truth and reconciliation. If you want Cameroon to be truly united, because what they're doing is they're just pretending. They don't want to face the truth, and then in doing that, they are sowing seeds for more greater conflicts tomorrow. Because what is happening today is just a seed sowing. The human beings are killing today, they are just sowing seed of greater conflict to come tomorrow. If they fail in their own generation to live a peaceful Cameroon, of which it is already showing, they're already showing that they're going to live a peaceless Cameroon before going. I think at a certain, in the life of a human being at a certain age, there are some points you don't need to lie. Because if you are at a certain age and you lie, it doesn't really make sense. At a certain age when you are just planning to live this way, and you are still lying to yourself, that's the greatest deception you can tear yourself and tear your generation. The leaders of this country, even though they know that very well that what they've done is wrong. They know that when they die, they will never see God, because there's no way you can govern people in this way and expect to die and rest in peace. There's no way, and you cannot pretend to say that maybe you are manipulated from somewhere, that the French are the one manipulating you, setting the agenda. No. We know the French manipulation is there. It started from Ahiju, even right from the federal structure. We know the manipulations of the French president of Charles de Gaulle. We know the manipulations of Georges Pompidou. That led to the abolition of the federal system. We know all of those things, but it still comes back to us. It is our sole responsibility if you are truly a leader. Even though the concept of leadership in Cameroon is still very strange, because we still have leaders who still govern us with this old mentality that as if the way it is not changing, as if the way depends on them. When Cameroon will know the concept of true leadership, leadership doesn't depend on you. When a leader thinks of a generation, but politicians think of the next elections. And this is what we have been witnessing in Cameroon over and over and over. Even the so-called opposition parties, they're thinking all of the next election. They're not thinking of the next generation. We look at their political programs. It is not just quite different from that of the ruling party at the moment. I think at this moment, we cannot be talking of Cameroon being united. Cameroon is more divided than it was during the federal system. Even if you look at the so-called excuses they gave for the abolition of the federal system, and you compare what is happening today, they talk of the costly nature nature of running the federal system.
Yeah.
Compare it with the costly, the kind of the government costs, the running cost of running the present government in Cameroon. You will see that if it is more than 80% difference as compared to the federal system. So it just shows you that it was just born out of bad faith. Yeah. There are so many useless ministries in Cameroon. Ministries that you don't know their use. Somebody clap for the head of state. They create a ministry and put a person. I mean, maybe we're still waiting for that ministry of hand clapping. That maybe the head of state will create that in some few days to come, or in some few years to come. So all of these ministries that are consuming taxpayers' money, they're not producing any riches for the country. They're just there to consume. In ministries in Cameroon that don't give account at the end of the year, we'll see them only in November during the time they want to defend their budget. But you never see them whether, in Cameroon, you never hear whether there was a budget surplus or there was a budget deficit. Okay. So what are the use of all these ministries that are running the country down, and we're pretending that we're united? It is either we come out clear and say whether we're united and then we want to really move this country forward. I will tell truth to ourselves. If we refuse to tell truth to ourselves, our children that we're seeing today, we're nursing and planting a dangerous seed against tomorrow.
This one reads, it says, good afternoon, Mr. Jarvis, let these people leave us alone, because it was two Cameroon that came together, and it is that they don't accept that there's two people that came together. Mr. Jarvis, let these people leave us alone. The time has passed for us to come together. This is coming from, please, where you write us, send your message, text, tell us where you are writing us from. This one says, Mr. Jarvis, this is fabricated national unity. Thank you very much, all those of you who are sending SMS. I want to also acknowledge you. Happy Sunday to you, panelists. Very happy with the analysis of my brother with white shirt. I wish those in the regime should learn from people like this and do the right thing. This is coming from Nakes in Senga, who is writing us. Also, a lot of people have been writing us that they want to be members of a panel. We are almost out of time, but we have close to 10 minutes more. I want to get to you on this aspect where we look at the national unity in context. How will you situate Cameroon's unity today as compared to what it used to be under the federal system?
Thank you very much. A very, let me say, lumptious question there. Jarvis, when you get married to your wife, you are called Mr. and Mrs. Just imagine that after getting married to your wife and you live happily, you are forming a new family, but it doesn't mean that you are separated from the family you came from. And suddenly, the husband decides to bring his own family to take over the riches of the wife, because the wife got married to the husband as a rich lady. Does that create more of division or unity? I want to link this situation to the Cameroon situation. When Cameroon operated as a federal system, I want to think and believe we were more united then, because the bicameral, bicultural, and bijural nature of Cameroon was respected. And it means that the Anglophones in their Anglophoneness could do what was needed to them. They could use the resources generated from the southern Cameroons to develop the southern Cameroons and send a commission to the headquarters. It was a commission. And meaning that the other 8 regions could use the resources generated from them to develop their regions and send a quota to the central region for administrative purposes. But today, where we stand, Jarvis, we are super divided. One, in the political system. The then President Amaju Ayijo said the many political party system was so expensive to run that he decided to form just one political party called the CNU. Today, we are having above 300 political parties in a country made up of 26 million plus persons. Meaning that Jarvis, if you are to divide 26 million persons to 300 political party, one party will be having roughly 86,000 persons. In a political party, we are more divided. A country where if an opposition party books a seat to manifest against embezzlement of money for construction of stadia all over the nation, against war in southern Cameroon, they are refused. And then when the ruling CPDM party, which does not have any separation from the government, wants to manifest, it is free, it is okay. Jarvis, that is another form of definition of unity we have in this country. A country where after 50 years, we are celebrating a very fat gap between the rich and the poor. A country where a minister will sit on television and justify the fact that 37,000 francs is okay as minimum wage rate in a country where you cannot have a house to stay in for less than 20,000 francs. Then we are talking of unity. Where is the unity? A country where embezzlement has been legalized. A country where illegality has been legalized and legality is made illegal.
No, but there's no way that embezzlement has been legalized. There's nowhere written in the constitution. President Biya, their ministers in Kundengi because of embezzlement.
Jarvis, you and I, from the outside, we think that those ministers are there for embezzlement. The truth be told, when you become a very strong man in this country, Kondenge is your next name.
No, but you cannot also refuse the fact that they were not.
And Jarvis, let me tell you, in basic economics, you do not only imprison people because of embezzlement. I want to ask you, and I want you to know, it is far more honorable to recover the money and pump it into the system than to lock up people in VIP prisons where they still have the free, the fair, the fun, and they enjoy the money they have embezzled. I want to tell you something, Jarvis. Embezzlement in Cameroon has become a new form of cultism, where somebody who is at the age of 70, he knows that he has outlived his life, he has his 5 children, he decides to embezzle billions of francs. You lock him up and his children are living in affluence. Okay. What are you saying? Why should they not embezzle? Okay. A country where when people embezzle, the president of the republic, when he asked, where are the proofs? He made the people who are embezzling to always embezzle the more and hide the proof. I want to tell you, Jarvis, conclusively, that where we stand today, we are far more divided, and I'm afraid that in 2035, where some dreamers think we are going to emerge, we might have divided ourselves even further.
Evis Tayong, Yaoundé is listening to you now. What is that message you have as far as the picture of this national unity is concerned 50 years after? You say we are more divided than before. And how do we bridge this gap such that we can be more united in our diversity?
The things are clear. Yaoundé listen very well. All those who are to the palace listen very well. Whether it's star building or how do they call it? Even you listen or you keep it, I don't even know if they'll take to it. But the way out for this quagmire that we find ourselves in is that we must revisit our history books. And the state should be able to apologize to Cameroonians for the policy of assimilation. Because even when we talk about the referendum, they brought in lies telling that we are abolishing the federal state system because it is expensive to run. Today we have city councils doing the same function for the subdivisional councils. We have regional councils inundated with multiplicity of functions and, in short, duplicity of functions before the normal ministerial departments are in the same areas. And you tell me that it is not instead costly? It's more costly. So what they should do is to revisit the drawing board. And point number 2, they get back to this to squash the existence of the unitary state or united whatever they call. They move back to their federal system if there's still time for them. They have to move back there and call up all the Enam boys back to other duties. If you were a GO, you could be redeployed to be a divisional officer in one area, a divisional delegate in one area, so that they begin to carry on with the powers getting closer to the people. People should be able to empower councils. Abolish city council, just leave the councils, divisional, sub-divisional councils, and you make it in a way that they function as local government chairpersons. When they function in this manner, they have their election, and you put in place the election of governors. When you put all of this, powers come closer to the people, and the areas that are federated begins to know that it is mandatory for them to generate their own resources, and by so doing, they only give you 30% of the revenue they get to the national treasury.
And they pay their teachers. And
they pay their teachers without you coming to run after them. If you do this, because I don't know whosoever told Yaoundé that if you put in place a federated system, it will put the people away from you and divide the people. No. I don't know who told Yaoundé that if you put in place the issues of governors, appointed Yaoundé to lord over the people, it will be the best system of government. These are the results we are getting. I'm telling you that you cannot tell me that a man from Gelemenduka is my SDO and he can tell me, he can give me order and listen to him compared to if that particular GO operating now as a mayor would have been my own person, that I voted, that I will not, there's a vote of no confidence, because you know with the federal system, the moment you don't work, you work out of the norms. The council just need to come in and give vote of no confidence. Once the vote of non-confidence given to you, immediately the deputy local government chairman takes over. And that's what he's been waiting for. So because it's called that you're deputy chairman, but look at the current disposition, I will tell you, Mr. Jarvis. All the mayors don't even allow the deputies to talk. You go to a council, you don't even know first, second, third, fourth, fifth deputy, you don't know. Because what is their fear? With the unity system, their fear is that if they empower them as per se, they might be seen to the limelight that they will soon become a threat to their existence. In the federal system, it doesn't function like that. Because you function as a team. The moment you sideline your deputies, they are the ones who can easily work towards a downfall. And so it becomes very normal. Now, to conclude, I would tell you clean and clear that all what we're talking about, the system put in place after the referendum failed. Way forward, all of them in Yaoundé should go on leave. Without exception. We need, if you think that we must solve problems, these particular people I see in Yaoundé can never solve these problems. These ones who are watching me now, it's their life.
But we have watched the Prime Minister and other ministers on several occasions. See, Papa don't talk, around.
I would tell you, like what my brother said short a while ago, Prime Minister is not a bad person. I repeat. His Excellency Chief Dr. Joseph Jongute is not a bad person. But the mechanism that is carrying him along is a kangaroo mechanism.
Briefly,
the same like those parliamentarians.
Briefly on this, we don't have time, but briefly on this, many people are saying that this issue of ENS, where it's not going to be direct integration, that they are pushing in now for the Prime Minister to sign it, so that it will be that it was an Anglophone Prime Minister that signed it, signed in the fact that it should not be integrated. How true is this assertion? Briefly.
Whether it's an Anglophone Prime Minister who signed it or not, or that the government has signed it. Yeah. So anybody who is on that particular lane is limping, like a limping dog. Whether it is Prime Minister, whosoever, the thing is that he signed it on behalf of government as a head of, it means the government has decided. And truth be told, they no longer have money to be paying because they have accumulated persons who have left school and they cannot recruit them. So in a shortcut, they should tell you that from 2023, all those who get in, you will not be directly integrated because they have tried the integration, is not moving. Why? How do you explain to me that They are still finding it difficult to integrate not many of the teachers. Yet, people are crossing from one ministry to another. Is it normal?
Thank you.
Yaounde is confused.
Thank you very much for all those of you who took our time to watch our program. Hopefully, in the second week of June or so, we will have the Kenyan Vice President on an interview ahead of the elections that is coming up on August 2022. We've confirmed the interview date. I'm still waiting for some formalities to be done, so just queue in. I'm sure we shall have William Ruto sometime inside the second week of June. Thank you very much for coming, Song Derek. It's been a privilege to have you.
Thank you very much, Tah Mai Jarvis. It's always a pleasure to be on the panel to deliberate with sound minds. Thank you to my co-panelists, Mr. Nick Anu and the Kangaroo Man. And of course, to the general management of my media plan, it's always a pleasure. Then, to the regime in place, I want to tell you that Cameroon needs a unity of sound minds, and we cannot be united on pieces of papers.
We're out of
because
time.
What is provoking us make us to think that Epiangome was right to say, what God has put asunder, let no man join
thank you very much for coming, Fire Elvis, and of course, Nick Anu, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Tah Mai Jarvis. Thank you for having me here, and thank you, our fellow panelists. Thank you for sharing the panel with you, and thank you, Cameroonians. Thank you, lovers of my media prime, House of Commons, for taking time to watch the program, and we look forward to our next program coming some time to come.
Thank you, the Kangaroo Man.
Thank you to everybody watching. Thank you to the people of Azikul, who are part of your house already. Of course, as we are on the foot for the official launch of the Boya branch Azikul. But then, no thank you to those who are making us to suffer. None. We are suffering because of some of you there. You live fit, fat, enter your planes, go to Europe and come back, medical, bills, everything. No thank you to you people.
Thank you. What about the phone of Unuku?
If it's that one, the thank you should be first now. With any other traditional ruler, including the one of Limbe, Paramount of Limbe. If traditional rulers, their thank you is automatic. But any other government official, no thank you.
Thank you very much. If you took our time, you want to be a member of our panel, you want to participate on a debate, indicate to me, call me on the numbers on your screen, 676431384. I'll include you into the WhatsApp group, and of course we'll move over there. No matter the matter, what matters is your matter. No matter the matter, what matters is your matter. And what should matter for you this day is that you should stay out of trouble. My name is Tah Mai Jarvis from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, Fengudong, Bange Koto Bona Musadi. Bye-bye.